J.C. Newman Cigar Studio in Boston, Massachusetts, and the Gurkha Cigar Studio in beautiful British Columbia. Welcome to the Smokin Tabacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tobacco and Mitchell Santaga.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. My name is Matt Tobacco from SmokinTobacco.com, and I am joined once again by my friend north of the border, also of SmokinTobacco.com, Mr. Mitchell Santaga in the Gurkha Cigar Studios. Mitchell, how are you?
You know, I'm doing good. It's been 2 weeks since I've been on the show.
That's right, I forgot about that.
Weeks ago, a little bit of a sickness, and last week, Boofy wanted to come in on a specific day, so we made some scheduling changes just to accommodate for him to come in last minute for us. So
there's not many people I do that for, but you know, Matt's always been a trooper on this show, so I had to give it to him.
And it's always a fun show, so.
You're just lucky you weren't there for that, because he would have eaten you alive.
Yeah, you know, you can always, if you always want to see that action where Matt Booth eats me alive, you can always go check out our YouTube and watch the PCA interview. that was more of an interview with me than an interview with him.
Watch the Smokin Tabacco Show. Eat your vegetables, take your vitamins. Smoke Room 101.
Yeah, never forget it.
Gotta get it in.
Get it in. Yeah, no, I know.
But, yeah, so it's been, and I haven't, like, obviously I was sick, so I actually haven't been able to enjoy too many cigars. I've just, I think this week actually is the first time I've had one in almost like a week and a half, 2 weeks. It's just
I feel like everyone's getting sick right now.
Yeah, this October, man, it's been tough. So
we were all sick. Everyone at work is sick.
Yeah. Yeah, so
it's that time of the year.
I'm glad to be here. I'm excited. I'm excited for this show. Fun to be back.
It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, definitely. You know, this guest has such a great past in the industry and just doing such revolutionary things in terms of tobacco and really pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, and his family's got a pretty storied past in the business too. I mean, they've been around a long time. You know, his father, his brother, also in the business. Known for a lot of the tobacco they grow down in Honduras. He's been on this show before. And then actually, I think his brother's coming on in like 3 weeks. So it's going to be quite the month on this show for this family. So without further ado, welcoming back to the Smokin Tabacco Show, it's none other than Christian Eiroa of C.L.E. in Asylum Cigars. Christian, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
We're doing great. Just excited to be here tonight with you, smoking cigars and catching up with you. I mean, you guys have kept pretty busy the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, hasn't it? Yeah, man. Since first we started 2012. First we were busy the first 6-7 years, and then when 2019 started looking a little normal, 2020 hit us with a huge surprise, and 2020 started again. And it's not just been the U.S.; it's been worldwide.
Right.
This because everything kind of came together at the same time, especially when Imperial sold out to us off to that group that everybody assumes is the Chinese group. It really changed the European landscape for us. So it's been really a crazy time.
Yeah.
The last 4 years for us.
Now,
as an industry company as well.
Yeah, no, it's been the last couple of years have definitely been interesting, to say the least. For some more than others, obviously. You know, and you brought up a lot of good points, especially with the European market, the Asian markets. We've talked on this show and the other show a bunch of times just about how things have changed because of the pandemic, not because of the pandemic, all sorts of reasons. But yeah, the game I feel is different. But yeah, you know, everyone's for the most part still here.
To the point of international market, you know, being up here in Canada, obviously you mentioned Cuban cigars.
Yep.
It's actually, you know, for the folks up here, like all my friends who are really heavy into Cubans, and like you said, in the last 3 or 4 years, a lot of them have really been diving into New World cigars or just non-Cuban cigars, and without fail, almost I'd say 9 out of 10 of them, if I say start with something Honduran to transition yourself from Cuban to, you know, maybe non-Cuban stuff, especially anything coming out of Eiroa Farms with that Cuban seed. 9 times out of 10, they go, wow, this is actually very, they don't necessarily use the word Cuban-esque, but they're like, I really like this. They're like, it's different, but I really like this. Whereas sometimes if you go into the Nicaraguan, it tends to be too peppery and spicy and strong for them. But a lot of them have really enjoyed anything in terms of from the Eiroa farms that I've been pointing them towards. So.
Yeah, thank you. In Europe, what we find is not just Europe. When I say Europe, I actually mean Africa and Asia and the Middle East. There's a very clear divide, right? And the line is pretty much an age. So let's say that age is 62. So anybody 62 and up, they will most often almost exclusively smoke Cubans. And anybody below that age, especially 26 to 36 or 26 to 40, I find these people, men and women, tasting cigars from different origins. I think two things came into play. Obviously, social media. We were able to reach so many people via social media and reach and bang per buck. People want to make sure that they get their money's worth for their products. And I think actually, if you get if I were to add a third one, I think the younger smokers, by younger I mean in 20s, late 20s and 30s, right? But I don't think these guys were ever welcome in regular cigar stores before, in these cigar lounges in Europe, because they tend to be mostly for older guys and crusty old guys that would hang out there. So there really was a tremendous shift in the social aspect of smoking cigars, and the average age is different, and the way information is being absorbed is absolutely different as well. And yeah, and you're right. Listen, Honduran tobacco first began to become popular, and after when the Cuban embargo was established, when guys like my father were sent down there by Angel Oliva, not the cigar people, but the tobacco people, and a gentleman named Tino Argudin, who Fidel had put in charge of all the Cuban tobacco plantations. So it was Tino Argudin, the stories you hear about the tobacco seeds and the coffee cans. It was Tino who did that. So that's patient zero. They're taking a seed out there, and when they were growing that tobacco and when they started tasting that tobacco, Angel Oliva decided that was the tobacco that was closest to Cuban, and not as a compliment to Honduran tobacco, but really he was a pragmatist, right? So he was, all right, how do I replace the blends from our cigar, the machine factories that were all up in Tampa? How to replace the Cuban tobacco with something that their customers won't feel, and Honduran tobacco is the one that they used. So we use all the traditional Cuban seeds in Honduras for many, many years. Just that Honduras is a very boring country for many years as far as entertainment value. Dominican's a lot more fun, and Nicaragua, of course, very, very interesting as well. But Honduras has always been very, let's say Honduras have always been very introverted.
That's a very interesting way of putting it. What I meant to say was I like the way that you kind of explain that. That makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
But before we get too ahead of ourselves, there's a couple of things we needed to do, not to be so abrupt, but I just don't want to forget them because I know that this conversation can take off and go forever away. And I don't want to go too far. So a couple of things first. Christian, are you smoking a cigar with us tonight?
I'm not smoking a cigar with you guys tonight. I'm
Okay.
actually indoor because it's raining like crazy. There's cats and dogs in Miami. We're getting some cold front today and tomorrow, so I can't be outside.
Alrighty, that's fair enough. But I just want to make sure that I included you if you were. But since you're not, Mitch, I'll let you go first, and then I'll follow up. But it's time for our cigars tonight, brought to you by 2guyscigars.com. That's right, the number 2 guyscigars.com. If you head over there, you'll find an amazing selection of all the Eiroa, C.L.E, and Asylum cigars. I'm pretty sure they carry every SKU. Christian, you'd probably know, but I know that they've always been a big supporter of you guys. So you can probably pretty much almost everything I think that they make, you can find it at the number 2 guyscigars.com. In addition to hundreds and hundreds of other amazing brands of cigars and cigar accessories from the cigar industry, only at the number 2 guyscigars.com. Mitchell, I'll let you go first. Let us know what you're smoking tonight.
So I've got the C.L.E. PCA exclusive 2023, and this has. Nice. I just wanted to keep the packaging on because I thought the blue was beautiful and unique. And again, as we kind of talked about previously, before we went on the show, C.L.E., one of the few brands that doesn't use cellophane, but often will wrap and protect their cigars in tissue paper. So it's always like texturally just beautiful. It's natural, and it's easy to slide right off. And yeah, there's a beautiful Ecuadorian shade wrapper right underneath here that'll light up. What are you smoking, Matt?
I am smoking the Asylum 13 Pandemonium in the 8.5 by 60 size, which happens to be one of my favorite cigars. And I haven't smoked one in a while, and I was looking for my cigars for tonight, and I saw this one in the drawer, and I was like, wow, I've had these for a while. I should definitely smoke this. And I pulled it out, and the nice white tissue paper that was on there was actually starting to turn a nice brown. So this cigar has been resting for quite a while. So I was very excited to see how it smoked. I've had these for at least 2 years. I don't know if long, at least 2 though. And I have to say, it's smoking great and it tastes amazing. I mean, this cigar is fantastic. Even such a big format, it's a great cigar. It really is.
You know what's impressive about those wrappers? The reason there's no reason why that tissue should turn so quickly in a normal cigar. It's just that wrapper is so rich, man. It's very, very oily.
Oh yeah.
I'm very impressed in that wrapper when we first started dealing with it. I enjoy it. I enjoy that cigar a lot. It has a lot of body to it. The Pandemonium is one of those cigars that, if you know cigars, you've tried it. So we're trying to get more and more stores to introduce it to customers, because the value in it's right. They're all 8.5-inch cigars. They're all long. So they're all 3-hour cigars. When you think about the cost of cigars today, you want a cigar that's going to last you 3 or 4 hours. Because if it's, I don't know what the retail price with different taxes is different, right? But when you're paying something in the low teens or whatever, you want to make sure that you get your money's worth. So that one, each one of the Pandemoniums gives you at least 3 hours. I've never measured it, but I'm pretty sure it's at least 3 hours to smoke. And then the other, the C.L.E., the one you're smoking, we started these exclusives at the trade show a couple of years ago, because we wanted to reward the customers that were coming to the trade show. 2018, 2019, the trade show was kind of slowing down, and it was a trend that was coming 10 years in past. So when we finally did the trade show in 2021, after the COVID year, we took we couldn't have the trade show during 2020. It was something that happened organic. A lot of us started making these exclusive cigars just for the trade show, just for customers that came to the trade show. And I think 99% of us respected that. So those cigars are only given to people that go to the trade show. So we change it every year. So this is the third series. And first year we do a one for C.L.E. We've always done for Eiroa and Asylum. And for some reason, which I've completely missed the last 12 years of this company, everybody always assumed that C.L.E., the color for C.L.E. was blue. All my salespeople, this guy works in the office, Rupert, the marketing, everybody. It's just me. I can't believe I completely missed it. So anyway, the C.L.E., I guess, is the color for C.L.E. is blue. And some people like to joke and call it the It's a Boy cigar. But anyway, that cigar is fantastic. It's that Connecticut wrapper is the best from Ecuador, grown by the guys at ASP. That cigar has a lot of body and very creamy. And I'm glad you're actually trying it. And when you match it with the way we pack the tissue and the way we make the boxes for the smell of the cigar, and so the cigars marry each other inside the box, I think you get a whole different experience from any other Connecticut that you may have tried before.
Yeah, right off the bat, I was actually going to say right away that the body off this was, whenever you see shade, you're always kind of going in, is this going to be really light? Is this what it's going to be? But the body is very forward. There's a nice kind of fruitiness to it. There's kind of this underlying pepper spice breadiness. I always tend to get breadiness off of stuff from Honduras. I think you have binder and fillers as undisclosed, but assuming that there is at least some Honduran tobacco in here. But yeah, really, really nice right off light up. A little bit just straight medium, I would say. Straight medium, but nice body to it.
Are you doing the retro hill? Because I really can't tell from the image.
Yeah, the retro is nice. There's no sting at all on the retro. A little bit more of that bready note, and actually, I'd say even a little bit more of that the sweetness comes through on the retro.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like those cigars a lot. I like working with it, and we make that. It's a different blend every year. We can't continue these blends. We usually only make about 20 or 30,000 cigars. I think we only did 30,000 of that one this year. And but I enjoy it, man. It's a lot of fun for me. It's very hard for us to have the opportunity to create that much anymore, because you got to come out with a cigar and always has to be the same cigar, right? It has to be consistent. So, and you can't be launching any new brand every 2 or 3 months. So the PCA is something I have a lot of fun blending and coming up with every single year, because it allows us to to really experiment with new things and stretch our legs out and have fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember visiting the booth, and was it actually no, not PCA. It was TPE. It was yeah, it was TPE, and I remember you guys at the time were showcasing. You had repackaged a lot of your cigars, and I can't. It was just the Asylum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was C.L.E. too, but I remember definitely Asylum, and I remember you talk about the colors, and you're looking at that one specifically too. That kind of backpedal a little bit, but I wanted to point this out because it's something that I've just out of everything I've seen all year, both the shows and just stuff that comes out, the packaging you guys have been doing has been really nice, and I like how you've kept it simple. I like the colors you use. I like how the colors you guys use pop. The boxes pop. The bands pop. It's very identifiable. And we talk a lot about packaging on this show, on the Spare Note show. We talk about who does what. If you heard the last Spare Note show, you heard Coop go on his rant against Matt Booth in general on some of their packaging, and then with the show before that, he complained about again General and Sancho Panza and all that packaging. So we talk a lot about packaging on our shows, but I will say, as much as we talk about, or other people talk about, the things that they don't like, I like to try to take the time to talk about the things I do like, and I think that what you guys have done at C.L.E., especially in the last year, has been really fantastic, and it's just the right balance of like the right colors, the right designs. Like Mitch has been pointing out, you guys mostly just tissue paper your cigars, so obviously that gets incorporated into it. The way the whole presentation of the cigar, inside the box. I just think it's some of the best packaging that I've seen, especially with the updated stuff you guys did with Asylum, like I said. And I think it's, obviously the cigars are great too, and that's a separate conversation. But at least on that part of it, I think you guys do some of the best job, and I really like where you've been going with that the last couple of years.
Hey, thanks. I don't disagree with Coop, man. I mean, not talking about General, man.
Of course.
So much talk about packaging, and what drives me crazy, bro, it just drives me up a wall just to see a cigar store when they take the cigar box and they tear the lid off. Jeez, dude, it drives me crazy because if they only knew all the work that goes into not only just making it, but designing it and coming up and getting the wood and the trucks and the kiln and everything that we have everything.
Yeah.
This was not to tear the box. It really is. It's sad. It drives me crazy. But, this is, if I suffer from multi-personality disorder, which I think I probably do, but it's packaging is one of those big things because I'm two people at the same time. I want super fancy, but I also want simple. And I'm a traditionalist, and I like cigars to be packed in simple boxes. But then, there's always that part of you that sees something real nice someplace, and oh man, that's packaged real nice. Like I've seen one time the champagne, the Widow, the Veuve. I saw it beautiful packaging one time and came up with a concept. Didn't work in the market, so it's just one of those things that completely flopped. But it was real cool. But I see a lot of these boxes, and they're attractive, but the way things have progressed in the last 25 years in our business, and we forget, boxes used to cost $2, $3 a box. Boxes now are costing $7 to $25 a box. When you put that to the cigar, and you put the cigar goes through the grinder, that puts $2 or $3 or $4 worth of pressure on the cigar, on the price. So you're always faced with this dilemma. You don't know how to do it right, or you don't know what the right thing is. I like simple designs. These new Asylum packaging, the one that you were talking about that you saw, that was all designed by this kid, Raul Flores. He was with our marketing team for a while. He's no longer with us. And Tom Lazuka, they designed all that. They surprised me with it. I thought it was awesome. We had the original Asylum boxes were terrible. They were hideous. And we had to make those boxes because when we started the company in 2012, the people that make the hinges for us, the hinge machine, they were delayed 8 months. And so I had to come up with these boxes that the lid could just pop up, make everything simple for us. And we even made it so that those lids, you could turn them around and they turn into a tray for the stores, which not many people use, but at least one or two stores did. One or two stores did. So then we went ahead and we switched to new color boxes, which I like a lot. I think they're beautiful. They make a big difference, and they also help our retail stores and how to display the product out there. But yeah, man, Coop's not crazy. and talking about packaging, because it does make a difference. It makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we spend so much time talking about, wrapper, binder, filler, um, and getting into the tobacco and stuff, which is important, and I'm not I'm not watering that down. But the packaging aspect, I mean, I haven't. I know Mitchell has. We've been fortunate enough to be in these conversations with manufacturers constantly and understand. And I've visited factories, so I've seen the process and the whole packaging aspect, whether it's the design, the assembly, the putting together, and just it's a huge part of the production. It's a huge part of the cost, and I would say that there's there's a lot of time that goes into the design and the thinking of it and to putting it together, because ultimately, it's not just the cigars. And another thing, Coop likes to talk about, the craft paper bundles. That I agree. I don't think that that just the brown paper. It's especially on certain cigars, it's a little too watered down. But again, those cigars are presented. When you have a nice box of cigars, and you open that box, and you see it, and you open the lid, and you see the cigars laid inside, and all the bands are right, or the tissue, or whatever, the secondary band, or the foot band, they're all in there, all lined up. It's not easy, and we've talked about banding too. And there was some banding comments that we at Smokin Tabacco dealt with the last couple of weeks, but that some people didn't like, but that's okay. But no, I mean, that banding process, I mean, alone, I was having this conversation with the guys and with some other people, and even just the rollers in the factory that put the bands on the cigars. I mean, it looks so simple when you see it done, but I know it's not an easy process. That's definitely an acquired skill of putting those bands on the same way every time.
You know what happened when I moved to the factory in '95, and I started working at the same time? That's when NAFTA was being negotiated, right? Mid '90s.
Yep.
And there was this whole movement called TQM, Total Quality Management, in Spanish, Calidad Total. And I remember catching a video from this guy. And back then, you didn't get many videos. There was no YouTube, right? And the internet was brand new, so rarely you would find a good video that would make sense, and someone would send you an email, and that thing would take forever to download. But the guy was, I think his name was Cornejo, something. But anyway, he was this Mexican guy, and starts talking about and explains TQM in a way that I understood it much better, which basically he says, the last person who sees your cigars before your customer opens it is a person in packing. The person packing the cigar is the last person to see them. So that person has the most important job, right, in the whole factory. But then the person who puts the bands on the cigars is also the most important person, because that person makes sure that all cigars are completely aligned. And he goes down the line and explains that every single step of the process is the most important part. If your bunch doesn't make a good bunch and the cigar doesn't draw, then it's a bad cigar. So that person has the most important job, and so on and so forth. The guy who rolls, the guy who tests, the guy who supervises, and that's one culture we were able to really make it very become part of our corporate culture at the factory. That every single step that they do, they are the most important person in the whole process. That not one person is more important than the other, and they're all as important together. So there's a lot of pride. If you ever get one of our boxes, you can go, and if you're home, just go online and look at a picture of an open box. Our cigars are always perfectly aligned. That tissue paper, it is a pain. It's a lot of work. It's always perfectly aligned, also almost at the same level. I would challenge you to find any difference in any cigar in the same box, even the color as well. That's why we use women for these colors, because they see colors a lot better than we do, than us men do. Because I mean, you just touched on something that, for you, maybe you didn't think about that much before, but it's something that crossed your mind. And just, it's a huge part of what we do, and it's a huge part of what we pay attention to all the time, every day.
Yeah, if you follow C.L.E. on Instagram, I'm pretty sure you guys post a lot of your own factory stuff going on, putting bands on, putting wrapper on, putting boxes out, right? And like you said, you see the care, and you see like every single thing lined up perfectly. You've got different markers for each spot on the cigar, and it looks beautiful. The presentation, like I said, it's amazing when you open that box.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, man, we do we're pretty open on our. Hold on one second. We got someone walking in. We got someone walking in from the gym. So I gotta make sure he's not so loud. So yeah. Go on our Instagram pages, Asylum 13, C.L.E. Cigar, and Eiroa Cigar, and Christian Eiroa. We're very candid. We're very open about how we do our processes. We show a lot of detail in our process. I don't mind sharing it. We show how we draw test every single cigar. We show how we do the bunch, which is a mixture between accordion and tube. We show how we make the boxes. Although there's not that much interest from the boxes, which pisses me off because so much work goes into these boxes. But you see, a lot of it, we do some fermentation, how we handle tobacco. But every step we go in there. So if you're ever just curious about how things are done, just go through any of these pages and spend some time, and you will pick up a lot of things from how the tobacco is done. I've noticed I haven't posted like 3 or 4 weeks, man, because these people, Instagram, they keep changing their formulas. So and now we're trying to figure out some other different way to approach it. But it is interesting to be able to share that because we couldn't do that 10 years ago or 15 years ago. We couldn't do that. Now we can. So we're a lot more candid, a lot more open, and we're working on some new things where I want to be able to connect the consumer directly with the factory, see if I can pull that off.
Yeah, it's funny. I had this observation that I made, and it's funny to talk about this because this conversation with you, what I'm hearing is it kind of reinforces the point that I was making, which I wasn't making a big deal out of, but I was just pointing something out. There was a particular brand out there that's known for a much higher price point, and I noticed on several of their cigars, their bands were like uneven or like they didn't meet. They were like overlapped like this. And I made a post online, and they didn't really like it, but I had said, hey, not for nothing, but like, don't you think at that price point you should definitely have some more hands-on quality control with, the presentation of how the things are packaged, and of course, they didn't like that. But hey, if Christian Eiroa is out there doing it, and he's selling his cigars, which are great, and don't get me wrong, and you're selling cigars that you're asking 3 or 4 times the price on, and he can get it done. Don't you think you can get it done too? That was the only point I'm trying to make. And
What else's name next?
What'd you say?
Stop! I'm making something you said, bro.
No, what'd you say? It froze there for a second. I didn't hear what you said.
No, I'm saying use somebody else's name next time. I don't.
I'll give it to you. Yeah, it was El Septimo. Yeah, it was. Yeah, they didn't like that. So yeah, they didn't like that. But it's true. You know what I mean? It's I don't know.
Well, that's funny.
It was.
I think we gave a few other brands as examples. We were like, you wouldn't find that on Davidoff, you wouldn't find it on C.L.E, you wouldn't find it on a few other brands we mentioned, and yeah,
a lot of brands.
They were like,
yeah.
Oh,
that's actually very.
But I mean, I just want to say that just kind of proves a point. Christian just kind of said it in his own words and how they do things at C.L.E, and it's like, hey, well, if he can do it, why can't you do it? I don't know. That's just the way my mind works.
Well, my approach is my approach. I had someone work with us. His name was Angel Diaz. Good, great kid. He did marketing for us, and I hired him because of this conversation. And he tells me, Chris, I work in insurance. My job is not the most exciting job in the world. So I'll be there in my office. I'll go to lunch. I come back from lunch. I'll fool around on my computer for a while, and I'll look up a cigar. And I'll read up on your cigar. And from 1:30 in the afternoon to 5:30, all I can think about is your cigar as I'm driving over to the shop. If your cigar delivers, my day was worth it because I just spent the last 5 hours plus the next day thinking about what cigar I'm going to smoke next. If your cigar is disappointing, I'm really pissed off at you, and I don't want to taste your product ever again. So, it really stuck to me what he was saying, that nobody accidentally goes into a cigar store. Everybody really wants to have an experience when they go into a cigar store, and I think the experience starts in the way the packaging looks, by the way cigars look inside the box. They all have to match evenly inside the box, and then also by the way that cigar is presented to that person in the store. So if we, I know Tom Lazuka hates it when I say this, but I would love to cut down the amount of customers we have and be down to only 250, 260 customers. Customers that we know in the U.S., customers that we know that will take real good care of their customers when they come in, that they will walk them to humidors or explain this cigar, explain that cigar. And that way the experience, nothing gets lost in translation. That they get presented the cigar and say, hey, these people that they take this care of the wood, they do this for that. They have their own clinic, they do the solar thing, they do this, they do all these different things just for you to enjoy this single cigar right now. And I really have to believe that affects someone's experience when they're smoking a cigar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
no doubt.
Half of having a cigar is the experience. That's, the cigar has to be good, and then
the story,
and the experience around the cigar has to be good. It's a whole why is the word? It's a whole package. It's a package deal when it comes to smoking a cigar. It couldn't have been said better, Christian. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Really quickly, I just want to mention that tonight we are also cutting and lighting our cigars with accessories from our friends at SD Dupont. That's right, SD Dupont, be exceptional. I'm using the Defi Extreme Twin Torch lighter in the new petrol blue format. Is a matte blue finish that is exclusive to the United States, and it debuted earlier this year. I used my cutter already. It's on the other side of the table. I'll dig it out. This is the brush copper. It's actually Nicole's cutter. But I got the brush copper double blade guillotine cutter from SD Dupont. As always reliable, great quality. It's what I trust my stuff with. Christian, one of the things I wanted to talk about with you tonight specifically was, I know you guys have done a lot of new things, and we've kind of talked about some of them. But there's one thing in particular that you guys have done recently, and the cigar is now available, that is a little different. You're using a new tobacco with, and that is the Sensorium, which I think is a phenomenal project. I don't have it with me here, but we've heard a lot about it, and I know that you are doing some events with it, if I remember correctly, in some retail stores, smoking it with the customers and kind of talking to them about this. Tell us a little bit about that project and kind of how it came to be, and then we'll talk about some of the tobaccos that are inside it as well that I know is a big part of it.
Yes, Sensorium is again, I'm a traditionalist, right? I like if I'm gonna wear a tie, I won't wear a clip-on tie. If it's a tuxedo, I'll do the tie, the bow tie. If I shoes, you got tie the shoes. I like doing things the old-fashioned way. I don't like anything that's. For example, I'm not a big fan. All right, let me rephrase that. I'm not all in with the new hybrid seeds, the Corolla 98, the Corolla 99, the 2006, 2012. I like the way that the old seeds tasted, right? I like the way that the authentic Corolla seed, the one my dad grows, taste. I like the Victoria seed, the one we use in Eiroa First 20, old traditional seed. And the Sensorium is one that right now we're calling Pinareño. It was originally the original Cuban Criollo, and this is the one that came in the cans. The one that my dad has like 10 gallons of this crap. Now, my dad's turning 86 in January, so now he starts telling all these stories, and now they get even more and more interesting to me. Maybe he said it to me when I was 20-something. I didn't pay as much attention as he do now, right? So he did the experience with Pinareño, and I've been doing experience with Pinareño and some other farms that we started. I started some farms in different areas also. And the way that this tobacco tastes is like nothing else. The taste is fantastic. And we use it in the Sensorium. We don't have enough of that tobacco yet. We will have more of the tobacco coming up because that's all we're growing now. There's a farm in South America that I'm probably about $895,000 into this farm already, developing. It's only 30 acres. It's not that big. But the tobacco that is beginning to produce is amazing. And right now it's only fillers. We're not at the level of binders or wrappers yet. And I'm using about 30% of that is this Pinareño seed. We use the tobacco in the Sensorium. Sensorium is a very small run. The cigars were, I think, 50 to 60 US. And we make them in the individual coffins. The coffins themselves, the story about it, the way we prepared the wood for that also, because if you take those little coffins and you just crack it open and you smell it, it just gives you a taste like nothing else you've ever tasted, because it's a mixture of that cedar with that tobacco. And if you smoke that Sensorium, you can't buy the cigar, get into your truck, and drive 3 hours. That cigar is for you to, when you get home, you're going to sit on a couch or get in a store, go to a lounge, go to a restaurant after dinner where no one's going to bother you for 2 hours. That's the only way to smoke that cigar. All right, you can't do anything else while you're doing it. You got to be in a vegetative state to really enjoy it, because the flavor of Pinareño is incredible. And when you add to that the fact that we use reverse osmosis in our factory, all the water and my father's fermentation, my fermentation too, we don't use it. There are no minerals in our water. Everything's reverse osmosis. When you taste these cigars and you really want to get nitpicky, you start trying to feel the flavors, and you feel that it's a very clean flavor. So when you smoke one of those Sensorium cigars, it's very clean. You'll feel that Pinareño filler in there. And in the coming years, you'll start seeing more cigars that'll be 100% Pinareño. which are just going to completely, they'll take you back to 1939 Cuba, is what we're trying to do.
Now, the thing with that tobacco, if I remember correctly, it's also very susceptible to mold, which makes it difficult to grow and gain high yields out of.
Yeah, blue mold was the reason why Cuba stopped growing the authentic Corojo seed in '87, and I have to think they abandoned that Pinareño around the same time, because they're very susceptible to blue mold. Is that airborne fungus that tobacco gets when you get these drizzly days and it's chilly. And what blue mold does, it starts growing in the plant, and you don't know until 6 or 7 years later. 6 or 7 days later. Now, what makes Honduras different from a place like Connecticut? Connecticut gets frost every year, so you can say that it kills that mold. In Honduras, we don't get frost, and matter of fact, this mold is so smart that it develops an antibody to all the different types of fungicides you use on it. So it's always a very tricky thing, and it's not very under control. We haven't lost tobacco, but we still get a little bit. But you have to really move your seasons around in the way you grew tobacco. So everything gets affected, and you dance around this blue mold. So we've been looking for areas that don't have that much blue mold or don't have blue mold at all yet. They will have it eventually, but don't have it now. So you try to make it work for 6, 7, 8 years until you get that mold, and you got to move on to the next place.
So that's really the only way to combat that problem, is to just try to find an area where that has a low blue mold risk.
Yeah, and that's the only way to do it. And what happens when you start a new farm is these tobacco barns, they're $50,000, $60,000, $85,000 each. So, and one barn is good for 1 acre. Yeah, maybe 2 acres if you're really, really smart. So whenever you can do the experiments, there's no cheap way of doing it. It's not like, okay, let's throw some tobacco here, let's throw some seeds out there, and we'll pick it up and then move on. You can't be like the gypsies. I mean, you gotta set roots wherever you go, for a few years anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't just do something one-off. I mean, we've talked about it before, and I'm sure you obviously can attest to this. I mean, just the whole manufacturing process, but even just the farming process it's a lot of money up front. It's a commitment and it's an investment just to do that. And it's a lot just to grow one time and then pick up and move everything else around. And so yeah, you want to put your roots down somewhere, but at the same time, that blue mold issue is something we haven't really talked a lot about, and I feel it doesn't get talked a lot about. But I know it's an issue, and I know there's other tobaccos that are obviously susceptible to it, but I mean, would you say that there's other tobaccos that just can kind of fight that off more than others? Obviously, I mean,
they've just been phased out. They were these new hybrids were designed so that they wouldn't be affected by it. For example, the Virginia varieties never got affected by it as strongly. So a lot of the tobaccos were blended with Virginia. They would use burley also to develop these new seeds. Which the seeds are great, man. They're really, really good. The problem is the tobacco is so good that everybody grows the same seed. Although the soil makes a difference in the taste, it's still the same variety that everybody buys. So you can have a cigar made, and you could have the one cigar made with Criollo 98 from Dominican as wrapper, and Criollo 98 from Nicaragua as filler, and binder Criollo 98 from. So it's 3 different areas. The cigar will taste different, but it's still the same seed, same characteristics, same color. So, and the flavor could all very well be different. But so blue mold actually has not been a big subject, and unfortunately for us, when Daniel Rodriguez gave us the Corojo seed back in the 90s, or he gave it to my father, probably late 80s, early 90s. He also gave me, when I was a little older, I was 22, 23, he gave me the trademark. He goes, listen, trademark's yours, do what you want with it. And that was probably 99 or 2000. I think it was 28 or 29. When I went to register a trademark, the United States Patent and Trademark Office would not let me register that trademark. So that's why we can never protect that word Corojo. They said it was named after a region, just like you can't trademark Miami. I couldn't trademark that name. Now that I'm older, I would have been able to fight that a little better, and you would not see anybody else using the Corojo name. But it was really this seed on the Camacho Corojo that brought all this back to life. But the tobacco was, when you compare a Corojo plant was about 5 foot tall versus a Criollo 98 plant that's 6.5 feet tall. One's giving you 1,500 pounds per acre. The other one's giving you 2,400 pounds per acre. Financially, it's a lot better decision to grow the Criollo 98 seed than the Corojo. But the flavor in the Corojo is fantastic, just like it is with a Pinareño, right? So you really have to like what you're doing, and you have to enjoy it. It just, at some point, you have to forget about the profits and the profitability and what's best, and not let accountants make the decisions for you, but you make the decisions for your customers according to your taste for your customers.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's it's still a business, and you have to keep the lights on, right? Isn't that what they always say? But at the same time, part of that is also creating new ideas and going down new paths, and it's one of the things I have enjoyed, watching and smoking your stuff, and everything you guys do is you guys do try to think outside the box, and you do pretty well with it, especially with the Asylum brand. I mean, I think the Asylum brand, I'm pretty sure you and Tom have said this too, it's kind of like your, I don't want to use the word experimental brand, but that's kind of like your brand that you use with all of your kind of really big ideas, and you can really execute it there. And, a lot of the things, I mean, you've seen the April Fool's cigar, which, by the way, I know you guys said after, the 9x90, you guys weren't going to go 10x100. And then Aganorsa did it. They did a 10x100 lunatic, and I was like, damn, what a missed opportunity. But
no, not really. Not really.
I was hoping you guys would get there first.
No, listen, this is the dumbest thing. For some reason,
it's like, damn it.
I think his name is Paul, right? I don't know what Paul's title is. For some reason, he's got this thing with Azuka. With Tom Azuka. He just got this thing, and he just keeps poking at it. I think it's hilarious. I've never met the guy. I mean, I know who he is, and I even asked to meet with him, because I think it's funny. I think we could probably have a lot of fun doing it. So I think next year what I might do is do the 100.1 by 10.1. But this is the dumbest thing ever. This whole thing with this brand is silly, which is great for us, because anything they do, it just brings the attention back on the side. So anything they do, which it just helps us make the brand look a lot more interesting. Right. But yeah, it's silly, man. So I might do the 100.1 by 10.1 just to have fun.
I'm going to be honest with you. I really hope you do, because I think that would be exciting to see. And I would definitely grab that cigar, and I'm sure it would probably take forever to smoke, but I'd be up for the challenge. I know Coop's done the 9x90. I'm pretty sure. I think he did a couple of them. I think he reviewed it, if I remember correctly.
Did he really?
I think he did. So. I think he smoked 2 of them. I think. And I'm pretty sure he said it took him like 4 hours. And I'm like, yeah.
No, we did one. We did one with the PCA. I don't know if you saw it. I posted on Instagram with Shorty Rossi. We lit one up with him. That was hilarious. He was a good sport, man. He said, "Hey, you want to light one?" He goes, "Yeah, sure."
I feel like
and
I
then,
did
of course,
see that.
Everybody's like, "No, we got to record this. We got to see it." But he was a trooper about it, man. So, Shorty Rossi's awesome.
You can fill a whole ashtray with one cigar too. I mean, that's the other crazy part of it. It's one cigar. That's a lot of ash.
One cigar weighs the same as 2 70x7s. Exactly the same. Just like 1 80x8 is 2 60x6s. I don't know how the math adds up. I'm sure there's someone out there that can do the quick calculation for us. But the math, so 80x8 is 2 60x6s, and 1 90x9 is 2 70x7s. Exactly.
Wow. And I know that we've talked a lot about the other thing that I like to bring up too, just because I always try to work these things into the shows when I can. We've talked a lot about PCA, FDA, legislative stuff, and I know that there's been talks of things that people want to implement into regulations, and one of the things at one time was, we're gonna tax by weight of the product, and I think immediately when people hear that, they look right at you like, what about those guys? Because you guys are known for making some pretty big cigars, which is kind of a scary thought when you think that, you have a box of, 8x80s or 6x80s, some big cigars like that, and now they're being taxed by weight, and that's going to significantly impact those cigars versus like a standard box of, 5x52s.
Well, that's the British system. British system has that.
The British, they do that. I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
and Hong Kong does the same system also. There are a few countries. If the Brits were there, they use that kind of system. It's silly, man. Doesn't make any sense. As a matter of fact, the Brits even came up with this process called expansion, which is you moisten the tobacco, then you put it in a vacuum and suck up all the air, and the tobacco flake goes from this size to this size. And you pick up a pack of cigarettes like that, it weighs absolutely like a paper clip. the whole pack. But yeah, listen, man. The problem is our industry is so small that for us to be able to lobby effectively against a Philip Morris is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some really good victories in the U.S. and Europeans are completely different. They don't lobby the way we do here. You can't go to your representative in France and say, hey, man, hey, Pierre, I don't like this. We got to change it. Pretty much in Europe this is the new law, okay? So you got to start, and it's ridiculous. Like, all right, March 16th at 2:22 in the afternoon, the new law goes into place. And that's it, man. At 2:23, March 16th, you're following the new rules. And just a whole different system.
I know, Mitchell.
It's hard for us to deal with, and the citizen lobby doesn't exist. We can't go there and ask for different treatment.
And Mitchell, who lives in Canada, has pretty much told us that's exactly what happened in Canada. It's just there was no lobbying, there was no pushback, and they just, were able to push a lot of their laws and regulations and tax increases.
Thanks a lot, Mitchell.
I know. Everything should be
Canada.
blamed on the Canadians anyways.
Keep your regulations in your own yard. God.
Yeah, we try. We try.
But yeah, no, it's something I always try to remind people, that this is why we have PCA and CRA.
And now we have, bro. It's a good organization. CRA is great. The CAA is great also, and there's a tremendous need for them. And we got to keep going. Now we got the new one about the flavors. See what's going to happen with flavors. And we're just now launching with Bill and the guys at Deadwood. We developed a cigar for Deadwood.
Oh, nice.
Which of course ended up becoming this whole thing with Drew Estate. So we changed the name to Asylum 867, and that cigar will be out in a couple of weeks probably. I think we start shipping it called but it was designed by the guys at Deadwood and they were selling it for like 3-4 years. But then we had conversations, and Drew Estate of course had issues with that name, and that's up for them to decide. We had some good meetings. I thought, obviously, some meetings you need a third party to decide, right? So I kind of pulled out of that. They're dealing with their own issues, and we just changed the name to Asylum 867 on that product. But that'll be out. That cigar is going to be awesome. It's got 3 different ones, and then we got the Asylum Cool Brew, so it'll be a 4th one. So we're going to experiment with these because, like you said, Asylum for us is like Jack Daniels. Asylum is something that I can imagine, obviously, pretty similar in comparison. When the guys in Jackass, they sit there and they talk about the stunts, that's pretty much Tom and I talking about Asylum. All right, let's see how stupid we can get, and that we can make a cigar and still make it smokable and people will like. That's pretty much the way we plan that brand, and it works. I think you can tell that with the end product that we have a lot of fun working with that brand. We really enjoy dealing with that brand.
Yeah, it was funny. You just mentioned, I was going to ask you about this too, and you already kind of dropped the name there. Is it the cold brew or the cool brew? Cool brew. That's right. I think cold brew because of the coffee, but I'm like, something tells me the cool brew. Now that was another cigar that we saw at debut at PCA this year. You guys brought all sorts of things to that show. Tell us a little bit about, for those who don't know, talk a little bit about the Cool Brew project and kind of what makes that stand out.
Listen, man, this is the point in an interview where I pretend like I know what I'm talking about. But I'm just going to be completely honest. That is Lazuka's baby, 100%. And I would never touch it. I couldn't even come close to explaining it to you. And that'll be something, hopefully you can bring him on and
I was going to say we got to get
we'll
Tom
pick that
on
one for him to talk about.
Fair enough.
I would hate to tell you something that's not even close to what it is. It really is his creation, his baby. And I would never even dream about taking credit or try to explain something that came out of his mind.
Fair enough. And Tom's a great guy, so I'll let him have his thunder. We got to make sure we just get him back on the show, though.
I make cigars for normal people, bro. That's my
and Tom doesn't. Is that what you're saying?
Tom makes it for the carnies, for the geeks, for the for those kinds of people. That's Lazuka.
It's all right. You need that balance. I had a couple of I had a question here from the audience, and I thought this was interesting. John had said earlier in the show, can Christian explain how they are probably the most green company in the industry?
So many years ago we started this whole clean up at the factory, And I went to visit Estelo Padron, who used to run the Villas on factory. He used to make Oil Monterey and Punch in Honduras. And Estelo Padron was Orlando's brother. And Estelo was, to me, he and Rolando Reyes, the best manufacturers ever. Period. That's it. No one else. So, and his factory was so clean and so organized that I went back to my factory. I realized how dirty we were. So I started this whole cleanliness thing. And, you know, in my late 20s, early 30s, I suffered from OCD. I don't know why, just real bad. So I started this whole kick about picking things up and organizing things. And the same was true at the farm. To the point that about 7-8 years later, some people from Bayer, we know them as Aspirins, but Bayer is actually very big in crop science and agricultural.
Okay.
They came from Germany. They came to see our operation. We didn't know, but we had been already 4 or 5 years going through a process through them, through an internal process with them. And they came and they certified our operation, which is no impact on the environment. You know, my father's had the irrigation drip system in that farm since 1996. So we had zero impact. We weren't consuming that much water. And then also our factory, we said, like, all the wood that we buy is from controlled forests. You know, our operation now is solar. We're 54% solar, and that's the max that we can go at until Honduras starts buying power back from us, that we can probably go 75, 80% going solar. We're using the next step we're doing now. We're doing a rain collection system all over the factory. So all the water that we use, so we don't waste any of the rainwater that we have access to, we can capture as much as we can. I already mentioned something about the reverse osmosis. And one of the farms, I'm starting one extra farm in Honduras and probably another one in 2024. But the one I'm starting in Honduras this year, 2023, 2024, is one that I'm able to partner with. It's a 5,000 acre forest, and we're planting 70,000 trees every year. And the whole point is I want to get into the millions of trees. I want to get to a point, see, even if I can get consumers involved and cigar stores involved also, where they can start adopting parts of the terrain so they can all become a part of it. Because we are very destructive. Our industry is extremely destructive to forests. We do consume a lot of wood. And it wasn't just making the boxes, but also when in the 60s, when they were clearing the lands to make these farms. So we got to pay it back somehow. And it wasn't just tobacco. It was corn and, you know, different products that were being grown at the time. But I want to make sure we give back as much as we can. And I think I can. We're in a position to do it. Why not do it? Plus, we also have our own doctors in the factory, own doctors in the farm. Bayer helps us outreach to the community to help everybody and go to their homes and teach people how to be more hygienic at their homes. And now my next venture for 2024, 2025 will be a breast cancer center. We kind of help the breast cancer center in Honduras now. I don't do enough. But next year I want to do a lot more and maybe even open up one in Danlí, because the level of education is very, very low in Honduras when it comes to breast cancer.
I can imagine. I mean, it's very scary stuff too. And you know, we're lucky here in the U.S. You know, with the healthcare and even I know the healthcare laws are different, but in Canada and other countries, fortunate. But a lot of those countries, yeah, they don't have all the things that we're fortunate to have. So yeah, whatever help can be provided to them is more precious than gold, I think.
I agree.
So it's really awesome you guys do that, and it's nice that you think about your environment, the community that you're a part of, and I know you guys have been down there for a long time, and and you mentioned about giving back too. So yeah, I mean, I think that's great, and I'm glad John brought that question up because
for sure.
Yeah, no, that was a great question.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, we're also and this year also we're probably going to eliminate. I don't know what the exact math is. Probably 55 to 60% of all the paint. We're going to eliminate a lot of this stuff also. We're doing a lot more things to be a lot cleaner, and we change processes also to consume a lot less electricity because you have to, man. And plus, it's cheaper to do it.
Yeah, that's true too. You save yourself some money too. Energy costs and whatnot. And I know other manufacturers. They've come on. They've talked about similar topics and things that they've done to be cleaner or just to be more efficient. With water, electricity, and stuff like that. Because it is important. And it's nice to hear people talk about that stuff as well.
Right.
It gets overlooked a lot. It does. So hats off to you for making that such a big part of what you do. I think it's great.
Thank you.
We've talked a lot about Asylum tonight. Obviously, we've talked about Sensorium. We've talked about a lot of the other stuff. On the C.L.E/Eiroa front, um, I know that we saw the I know Mitchell smoking the is that the C.L.E.
The
exclusive?
PPA.
Yeah,
That's
C.L.E.
the C.L.E.
PCA exclusive.
You had an Eiroa exclusive. You had an Asylum exclusive. Um, we saw the Sensorium. We saw the Cool Brew. Um, just please refresh my memory because it's hard to remember all of it. Was there anything else that we saw from C.L.E. or Eiroa at the trade show outside of the PCA exclusives?
No, the focus of the trade show this year was Asylum, the packaging change. Of course, we have the Asylum 12, which comes out once a year. That one we do one blend per year. We started, the first one was number 7. So now it's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we got 5 already done, or 6, I'm sorry, 6 already done. And, next year at the trade show, I'm trying to figure out what to do if I should exhibit the 13 next year or at the trade show or just exhibit 12, because of course the trade show switched now to March, is no longer in July. So we had that cigar there. And for Eiroa, we didn't do anything new last year. We want to keep all the attention on Asylum. Eiroa, we did have the PCA exclusive, really, really good cigar. That cigar was a beautiful cigar. It tasted great, very creamy, very sticky. I like the way, I really enjoyed that cigar a lot. And this year in 2024, you're going to see a lot out of C.L.E. You're going to see something I think you're going to enjoy. C.L.E. has one cigar in it called the Habano. Is the one with the orange one, with the orange tissue. What makes the cigar so special? All right, so that one's an Habano wrapper. The Corojo, the Connecticut, and the Habano on C.L.E. they're exact same cigar. All we do is change the wrappers on it. Now, the Habano has the Habano wrapper. In Europe, it's called the Criollo because we can't use the Habano name over there. That cigar, when Cubans began to disappear from Europe, that cigar replaced the Partagas Series D number 4. Right? I didn't do it on purpose, just the way it happened. The C.L.E. Habano is such a sleeper for us. And, mostly, of course, it's my fault because it was stuck in between the Corojo. It was stuck in between the Connecticut. But when you look at the C.L.E.s and what's coming up now, that's one cigar. If we were picking stocks, I would say pick that cigar and start focusing a lot on that cigar. I think it's one of those cigars that doesn't get the attention that it deserves, but I think it'll be a game changer. And if you put that cigar in your rotation, you'll be pleasantly surprised on how good those cigars are, especially the Habano. And then the Eiroa, my favorite in the batch is the Eiroa Dark. I don't make that many of them. But Eiroa, we have the Eiroa Classic, which is the authentic Corojo seed. And then we have the Eiroa CBT, which is the wrapper, binder, and filler on Maduro in that one. And then the Eiroa First 20 in Colorado. I mean, it's just so many good cigars. And each one I can't really tell you. It all depends on the mood I was in when I blended them, right? But they're all really, really good cigars.
Yeah, that First 20 Claro, I mean, that was one of the first cigars I ever had. And I remember I smoked it, and I was like, wow, this is really good. And this is back before I kind of knew stuff. And, I was at a time I was smoking a lot of different things. So I was smoking just all sorts of tobacco and so I was just trying to, get my hand on stuff and just try to experience different flavors and all that. But I remember I got to a point when I hadn't smoked that cigar for quite a while. And I at this point, I was a lot more experienced. And I was in a shop, and I did have been 2 guys. And I said, oh, I haven't had one of these Eiroa First 20s in a while. I'm gonna have one. I remember this being so good. And I remember I smoked it. And it was crazy because, again, that was probably like one of like the first 3 real premium handmade cigars I'd ever had. And I remember smoking it then and having such a whole new appreciation for it. And it was even more flavorful than I remembered. And I think it was because I first smoked it and I enjoyed it because it's good. But I didn't have a lot to compare it to. And then I revisited it when I had a lot of other things. And I appreciated it more. And I was like, wow. And I just remember picking up on the cedar notes so much more on that cigar than I ever did. I remember smoking it and be like, wow, I don't remember picking up the amount of cedar off of it from the box and the wood. And I really liked it. And I was like, I don't even remember this the first time. But like now that I've kind of, traveled around my palate with different stuff, it really popped out a lot more. And I was like, wow, this cigar is just even better than I originally remember. and it's always been a staple in my collection. You know, and I smoke them from time to time, and I've always found that, I mean, you're right, you make a lot of great cigars, but that cigar in particular, I think just might be one of the best cigars that you make, and I think it also might be flavor-wise one of the most unique because just that flavor, man. I can taste that flavor in my brain, just thinking about it. And I know that cigar, and I could smoke that cigar blind, and I would know that's what it was. Just a fantastic cigar, and it's a cigar that I recommend to people, you know, a lot when, you know, I introduce them to, you know, your brand and the tobaccos that you use, and I think more people should try that cigar if they haven't. It's a
You know,
fucking sleeper.
Colorado, the idea started back in 96, 97 when first time I saw a Cohiba cigar in a store in Germany. And I remember the Cubans processed the wrappers in a way that the color is beautiful, man, just that reddish color.
Right.
So for many years, but Camacho could never do it because Camacho was always sold so quickly. It was very hard. So I was able to do it, slow things down, because Eiroa is one of those cigars. I don't rush it. If I have it, I have it. If I don't have it, I don't worry about it. We don't really use it as it's not a business cigar for me. It's just a cigar that I enjoy making, and we don't. So I took the second and third primings, fermented it very slowly, and we got that Colorado color. And the reason I box press it, because one trick about box pressing makes wrappers look pretty. That's the trick. And that's why I box press that cigar, because I really want to highlight those wrappers. So that's what makes that cigar so special.
Yeah, I mean, I've smoked pretty much everything out of all the cigars you make, and that one probably is my number one, by far. I mean, it's just, again, I think it's such a special cigar. And I remember the first time I smoked it, it was like, oh, it's just a light went off, and then, you know, coming back to it again and again and again, it's just that light still goes off. And you know, this, in my experience, and everyone's different, you know, there's cigars you find you like, and you don't necessarily not like them, but, you know, your palate changes. We talk about that. You know, your palate can change, and you one day, you know, you're really into this kind of tobacco, and you smoke it for a while, and then, you know, your palate changes, and maybe you find a more sweeter tobacco that you really enjoy, or you know, it changes to a more spicier tobacco or a peppery tobacco or whatever it is. Your palate can change. I've experienced it myself a lot, sometimes drastically, sometimes subtly, but no matter where I am with my palate at any time, that's one of very few cigars that I could pick up, and none of that matters. It's just, no, this cigar is going to be good, and I'm going to like this tobacco no matter what. And I don't know what it is, but that cigar has always been high on my list of favorites.
Thank you. It's Corojo, baby. That's what it is.
It is. It's magical. It really is. It's magical. You guys do a great job with that tobacco down there, and I think that's, you know, we talk about heritage and stories, and I think that Corojo tobacco, I mean, the Eiroa family, I mean, you guys have, you know, really made that a staple of your story too, which I think is great.
Thank you.
Mitchell, I didn't want to leave you out. I didn't know if you had any questions that you wanted to get in for Christian. I know I've been kind of doing.
Yeah, I think one of the more recent things that you guys have shipped out, and that you presented at PCA, but I don't think we really touched on it today. It's a limited production. I think it's the CBT 51 in honor of your 51st birthday.
Oh, that's right.
Pretty crazy Vitola on that. If I'm correct, a 50 by 10.
How could I forget that? Those cigars are big.
Which is, you know, again, it's pretty cool. What went into that? And like you said, and like I think you mentioned on some of the press releases that it was kind of like a secret project that you didn't really want to tell too many people about. And has that already hit stores? I know it was shipping out last month. I assume it's gone into stores or.
That cigar was so sure I didn't even know about it because it was my 50th birthday. And it was the 10th year of the company. So the marketing guys got together with the factory, and they made this cigar. And of course, 5010 made sense. And then that was the Eiroa Classic, and this year became the 5010 or the CB 51. So the same shape, same size. And we used to do this. We used to rent out 8 for the night and celebrate my birthday when it was nice. And that's the cigar that will be handed out, which is kind of cool, man. I'm real glad. I don't very often get surprised, so I really enjoyed that they did that for me. That was a very touching moment when they introduced that cigar, and the cigar is great. And it did start shipping. Shipped to some stores, and we only had 30 or 40 stores that went to that evening. We didn't invite that many people, So I mean, everybody bought 2 or 3 people from that store. So yeah, those cigars you'll see them in some stores once in a while, but they're really fantastic cigars. It's really, really long. The flavor stays very consistent throughout. It'll give you some complexities through the whole journey, but it really is a great cigar, especially the fact that it's a 50 ring gauge. It's not that hard to smoke.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. It's not. Yeah.
I'm getting to the end of this kind of guy here, and at 5x50, I don't know if I mentioned that I'm smoking the 5x50, but yeah, nice consistent throughout the whole thing. Through that middle section, that cedar and creaminess really ramped up. I got a lot of that cedar and creaminess through the middle of the cigar, but really nice balance. Through the end here, I'm finding the retro is starting to pick up in strength a bit, maybe like a little bit more pepper on the retro, and but not bitey at all. You can retro it no problem. So really enjoying this.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm watching the time, and I know we're getting towards the end of the show, so I'm gonna just try to be conscious of that. But first of all, Christian, I want to say thank you for being here tonight, because I appreciate you coming on the show, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
One of the last things I wanted to ask you about, and I've been asking a lot of manufacturers this, especially manufacturers who I know have just they've had a busy couple of years, and I know that they probably have a lot coming forward. And I know you've said 24 we're going to see a lot more stuff too. With the trade show moving from July up to March, how has that affected your release cycle, your production, and were you able to make good adjustments by anticipating that move, or was it something that kind of caught you off guard and you guys kind of had to scramble to move everything around to have things, ready for the trade show in 24?
Well, historically, even back in the Camacho days, we always launched product the first quarter of the year, because production curve throughout the year is this, and then demand curve goes like this, right? So it starts climbing. This is March, April, July, and it goes down in September, October, starts slowing down. So we always launched the products at the beginning of the year to make sure that we could plan our production accordingly. So for us, besides just getting the booth ready faster, we didn't go through that many changes. And I think our stores are going to benefit a lot more, because now instead of receiving the products in October, November, when the season's already going down, they'll be able to get the products in June, July. They'll be able to get the products June, July, where we hit it right at the center of the peak business for the industry and for most of our customers. So no, man, it really wasn't that disruptive for us. I'm glad for 20-something years, we've been talking about moving the trade show the first quarter of the year. We finally did it, and we'll see what happens. It's really interesting to see how the market responds to it.
So you think that this will to production into the customers getting their products?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And I think the retail is going to benefit, and the customer is going to benefit. Because one thing that was happening also, so as we get to the top part of the industry, this is when companies need to hit their second and third quarter sales. So what they were doing was, companies were issuing these crazy specials before the trade show will start. So retail stores stopped going. When retail stores stop going to the trade show, they start missing out on new information.
Right.
And we as an industry, we stop promoting new products and stop using the trade show as the tool that it needs to be. But now that the industry is going to be, as the cycle starts increasing, I think more retailers will go to the trade show. I think us as manufacturers will be able to share a lot more information more willingly and more aggressively. And I think as a whole, the industry is going to benefit a lot more. That's my theory, and maybe that's just my optimistic theory, but I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Now, I know that obviously with that trade show moving, it puts it within, I want to say, just under 2 months of the TPE show, which I know you guys also have been attending in recent memory. Now, do you still plan on to exhibit at both shows, or is it more
Yes, sir.
where we're all in a PCA?
No, TPE was great to us. We get a lot of good customers that go to TPE, and it remains to be seen, right, what the response is. We've always done, again, since probably 2001, 2002, I always do my price increases February 1st. So TPE fits right there at the beginning of the year before the price increase. So TPE, we've always got a big pull at TPE. We just did it that way, and we just got lucky that TPE came in those days. So no, I'm not too worried about TPE. Well, I think TPE will be just as successful as it was before, and it's a different kind of customer that goes to TPE. you weren't getting the core of the retailers going to TP. You did have some, especially California guys were going, a lot of them. And so the main distributors were still going to both, and the main catalog internet companies were going to both. So, I mean, yeah, listen, it's up in the air what's going to happen exactly. I do think that the results are going to be very similar from both trade shows. That's my opinion. But we'll see.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, if it works, I think if it works for you, then that's great. I know, talking to a lot of people, it's been very mixed. It's some like, yeah, no, we'll do both. Some have been like, well, I think only one makes sense. So it's just been interesting. It's been interesting to kind of see how that whole scenario has affected every brand and how everyone's kind of planning 2024 with that move and how it affects everything else that they do. But no, it's great, and I think there's a chance we'll be at TPE, so we might see you there. If not, I'll definitely see you.
Good, man.
I'll see you at PCA for sure, and Mitchell probably will too. So we do look forward to that, swinging by the booth and checking out what you guys got. But that's gonna do it for our show tonight, Christian. I
Thank you very much.
Do we have any news for tonight, Matt?
Oh shit, I forgot all about that. Damn it. Thanks for reminding me at the end of the show, Mitchell.
I know. I'm sorry. I tried to get it in a little earlier, but
the co-host is supposed to remind.
We went off into these tangents and such great conversation with Christian. It's hard to want to break that up sometimes.
I know it's and it's on me too. I've been very spacey today. It's been a crazy day. I've had things going on in so many different directions. That's on me. I apologize. But yes, we do have news. I will read the news before we sign off tonight. So our news is once again brought to you by Micallef Cigars, featuring the Micallef Black, rated 91 at SmokinTabacco.com. Micallef Black, it's a blackout. A couple of new things here are from our friends at J.C. Newman. Obviously, love to talk about them. J.C. Newman and the LeRoy Neiman Foundation shipped the LeRoy Neiman 2023 Collector's Edition cigars. We saw these at the trade show earlier this year. This is a special project that J.C. Newman has embarked on for the LeRoy Neiman Foundation. For those who don't know who that is, he was an artist from Tampa, Florida. Today, J.C. Newman Cigar Co. and the LeRoy Neiman and the Janet Byrne Neiman Foundation will begin shipping the LeRoy Neiman 2023 Collector's Edition cigars to 177 of the leading premium cigar retailers in the United States. This new cigar is a collaboration between America's oldest family-owned premium cigar maker and the foundation of the late iconic cigar-smoking American artist LeRoy Neiman. All profits are being donated to support arts education in Tampa's public schools. This is really cool. You can go to SmokinTabacco.com to read more about this if you're interested in this, to get more information about the cigar. We can find it. But also just check it out. I mean, the packaging on this is really, really beautiful. Like I said, we got to see this up close firsthand at the trade show. We got to talk to Drew Newman about it, and I know that this is a really special project for them and for the Neiman family as well. And I'm pretty sure that this will be an annual holiday release, although I don't remember for sure. I know this is obviously its debut, but great stuff. There's that. There's also, I'll read another one off to you. It's been an interesting news week. Drew Estate has announced another Liga Privada. That's correct. Drew Estate announces exclusive for Casa de Monte Cristo the Liga Privada Unico Porchetta. Not the Pancetta, which is also a Liga Privada that is made. The porchetta, drawing inspiration from the traditional Italian roasted pork dish known for its rich layers and savory seasonings. This cigar is crafted to evoke a similar complexity in its flavor profile. Liga Privada Porchetta is exclusively available at Casa de Monte Cristo brick-and-mortar locations. It is a 6x46 box-pressed Bellicoso. The cigar is a feast for the senses, much like its namesake dish. The savory essence of the porchetta, which with its layered flavors, is mirrored in the cigar's robust palate, offering enthusiasts an intricate, depth-driven smoking experience. So
now, Matt, is the porchetta, is this the first Liga Privada with the box press?
No.
No, there's one.
There was, and I believe it was discontinued, but there was a number 9 Drew Estate Diplomat retailer box pressed version of the number 9.
Okay.
For Diplomat retailers, which I'm
probably
pretty sure
before my time, before I was smoking New World stuff.
I think it only
or
got
just way too limited for me to even know up here in Canada about it. Really,
that probably. I think they discontinued it last year, but I remember it was one of the cigars that was on that big list of all the stuff they discontinued.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they've done a box press Liga before, and that's what I thought of when I read this. Yeah, no, and maybe maybe that's maybe they wanted to kind of
making room for it.
I don't know. But yeah, no, it's definitely not been the first time. But that was the news for this week. Sorry I did it so late. I completely just lost my mind there.
Hey, we got it in
with our conversation. But thank you for reminding me eventually, Mitchell. I appreciate it. We didn't.
Live from the J.C. Newman Cigar Studio in Boston.
But anyway, that's our news from Micallef Cigars. Christian, thank you again for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Good night, guys. Thank you very much.
It's always great to see you and talk to you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel and everywhere you can get your podcasts. And as always, don't forget to go to smokintabacco.com for more news, reviews, and cigar industry updates. And with that, we'll see you next week. Take care.
Have a good night.